Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray. Thank you for watching. Today we're talking about Rick and Morty Season 7, Episode 9. And this was a little bit better than the last episode, but still kind of weird. The whole thing just kind of felt a little off to me. So we start off with Rick killing Jerry multiple times. Him viewing, him being able to see his grandmother in the afterlife, and then Rick bringing him back to life, and basically he's like, oh my god, there's kind of an afterlife, some sort of energy thing. It's an afterlife. It's hard describing it the way Rick described it is kind of confusing because he does it fast, but essentially he was like, if you want to get into heaven, you can just be better. And then Morty's like, oh, and then Rick's like, oh no, that's way too complicated. So they're gonna end up going to Norway. I guess that's the whole thing. They're going to Norway. So we're setting up this giant kind of space thing. This kind of reminds me of the movie It. A lot of movie references in here. I probably am not going to catch all of them. But this kind of reminds me, a lot of 80 movie references. So if you haven't seen a bunch of 80 movies, then you're probably not going to get a lot of these references. So this is reminding me of the movie. It's either it's Thing. It is not It. It is Thing. It is the clown. Thing is this crazy monster thing that can transform into people, kills a bunch of people. So Phoenix Protocol is back up because obviously when he dies, he needs to be transported back into a clone. And we have a Pokeball. So you're going to get some Pokeball references. I'm actually surprised they didn't do this sooner because Pocket Mortys has been a thing now for a very long time. Not that I've ever actually played it. I think it's basically just a Pokemon game ripoff. And they finally made an episode about it. But apparently he actually captured Bigfoot in a Pokeball. And he's like, I'm going to kill Bigfoot. And then he's like, after a while, you press the button. So Rick is in actually Valhalla right now because he died in glorious battle. And they fight, they drink, and then they die. And then they just keep doing that forever and all eternity. So he goes to a blacksmith and he's like, oh yeah, cool, you already got all this stuff. Then Bigfoot is actually making it look really, really good. Bigfoot is actually very, very smart. They actually made a whole thing here where they're like, yeah, Bigfoot isn't just like this giant dumb creature. Bigfoot is very, very smart. And there's some old 80s TV show called it's like something and Harry. Maybe it's like Havery or Heaven and Harry or something, and it's some movie. The scientist in Thor. The one guy in Men in Black is in it. Can't remember the name of the movie. I've never actually watched the entire thing, but they'll reference this later too, and you'll see it a little bit later in the movie. Family Guy's referenced it. I think South Park referenced it. American Dad, a bunch of shows have referenced it. But yeah, he's like praying and everything. So Morty lets him out, thinking, oh, he's feeling bad, and then Morty ends up getting killed too. Morty ends up in Valhalla. And they're like, oh, that other guy isn't related to you, is he? Because they think Rick at this point is a witch. Rick is lying, saying he's Odin, but basically he wants to tap into the afterlife for limitless energy. That's kind of the whole premise of the movie. Is that related to something else? I have no idea, because 80s movie references everywhere. Probably an 80s movie reference. But he ends up killing them over and over and over and over again. He kind of gets reanimated, but not really. And this is the one part that was kind of confusing, is somehow this clone of Rick ends up getting reanimated, but doesn't really have any brain power, so it's just running around crazy and naked. Then the Pope ends up capturing Bigfoot, and the reason they capture Bigfoot is because they're Catholic, they can't kill anybody, but the Bigfoot isn't a person. He's not a man, so Bigfoot can kill people. Yeah, I'm just confused as you are. So they train Bigfoot. He goes on all these secret missions for the Pope. As well, Rick and Morty, more Rick is trying to figure out as a way to become alive. So they're just, using technology to kill everybody. And they're getting bored of it. At this point, the Vikings have died like 50 times trying to get after Rick and Morty and take down this tower that they built. And it's just not happening. So Rick has a crown. He even says God. He has Thor's hammer in his hand. So apparently Rick is worthy of Thor's hammer, which you would not think Rick would be, but at the same time, Rick definitely would have some sort of technology to allow him to use it, I would say. Or tap into the, who is worthy, whatever makes him worthy as well. So, yeah, we see the Pope killing a bunch of Satanists. Well, Bigfoot, I should say, killing a bunch of Satanists. He was like, oh, you've earned, going after Rick as well. Someone is hacking into the relay that he created. It ends up being the Pope that hacked into it. Bigfoot shows up as well, and he was like, hey, you're captured. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't, think that you were dumb. I thought you were dumb. And apparently, I'm at the best at figuring out who intelligent people are, which is true because, he never found out that one Morty is equally as smart, if not smarter than he is, evil Morty, which we are not going to see the rest of the season. I can tell you that right now based on the preview. Not happening. Well, maybe next season. But upgrades Bigfoot's little handheld device there so that way he can actually talk and doesn't have to type it in to make a sentence. He pretends that he kills Rick and Morty. They run after the Pope. They kill all of these followers. But the Pope has tapped into limitless energy and ends up getting killed multiple times. Let's see here. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. The Pope is glowing. Yep, and just blast them away. He's kind of plugged into it like a battery, I guess is the best way to describe this. So, Rick and Morty end up getting, revised, but they don't really have a body for Bigfoot. So he ends up, I believe, in Summer's body here, by the looks of it. And there, yep. So he ends up creating another clone, a human that is actually more, fitting for Bigfoot. They get blasted away again. Here's the human version of Bigfoot as well. And this is like a 20-minute cycle of them going after the Pope and dying. It's not 20 minutes, it's like 5. But yeah, they keep getting obliterated. Then he brings Then Bigfoot brings in all the other monsters, the mummy, Dracula, the swamp monster, I think Frankenstein, Wolfman as well. And it's kind of interesting to see Frankenstein because you'd think Frankenstein would end up turning into like 50 different people because he's from a bunch of different bodies. But nope, he's just his own thing. Which, sure, why not? But then Rick realizes, okay, we have to shut this down. We have to shut down the power supply to, unfortunately, Rick is not going to be able to access his limitless energy anymore because he has to stop the Pope. That's exactly what happens. And then Rick catches the Pope in a Pokeball, and then he calls it a Popey Ball. So the entire episode was set up for that gag. So somebody was drunk and was like, what if we caught the Pope in a Pokeball and called it a Popey Ball? Like, can we make an entire episode about that? And yeah, that's what happened. Popey Ball. And then at the end of this is that reference to that old 80s movie, Something in Harry. Is it Havery and Harry or Heaven and Havery? But basically, they meet up with Bigfoot and they tell him he's got to get out of there. And they're throwing stuff at him. He's like, get out of here, you big dumb animal. He's like, wait, but I'm a dude now. Like, I can get a job. I can be a member of society. I don't have to hide anymore. Then we see a Pokemon battle at the end here between the Pope and some random monster. Gets raided by the FBI as well in some other dimension. And then we find out that Brainless Rick is the Pope in this dimension, and there's the end of the episode. So, really weird episode. I mean, it's kind of cool to see classic monsters animated. It's cool to see the Pokemon references. You got the Thing reference. You got I told you that one movie with Bigfoot reference. I'm sure there's other references in here as well to a bunch of different 80s movies. And then, Rick said, I really wish we had time to unpack all of Frankenstein's parts making it here. So, it's kind of funny because, Frankenstein is kind of his own person. And he looks human, all the flesh. He's not green anymore, he's flesh colored, which is interesting. But, weird episode. It's just kind of one of those random episodes. Was it better than the Ice-T episode? Yeah. Yeah, it was, because at least Rick and Morty were both in it, as opposed to having the main character be Ice-T for some reason. We haven't really had a lot of Jerry, just individual, Beth or Jerry or Summer episodes, so I'm hoping we get some of that for the final episode, but I really don't know at this point. I have no idea what's going to happen, because we're just basically like, okay, random ideas to the wall, let's see what stick at this point. This one, I'll give it like a 7 out of 10, I think, because it wasn't terrible. Wasn't really that good either. Definitely one of the weaker episodes this season. But just kind of like completely, it's like, all right, I feel like we're getting in a cycle essentially of 80s, late 80s, early 90s movie references. It seems like that is a lot of what we have been seeing lately. And if you've seen all those movies, cool. It might make the rating go up a little higher because you know all those 80s movies. But when the demographic of this is, like 18 to 34, not a lot of people have seen those 80s movies anymore. And but at the same time, Rick and Morty's been out there for like a decade at this point. So let's say 44. So I guess, you got like a 10-year gap, 10-year age range where maybe the audience actually fully understands what the heck is going on in this. But I'm sure there's a lot of references I missed. I've seen, my fair share of 80s movies, but haven't seen them all. And maybe I need to watch them more. Maybe that needs to go on the old list of things. Is all right, let's find all the references that they are referencing in Rick and Morty and actually watch these movies so I understand what's happening in the episode. But I don't want to drag this out anymore. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Probably half of them are going to be this episode sucked, because that's what happened last episode. It is what it is. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. And as always, have a good one.